Good morning, goddammit. P1ss and Vinegar Day 277. So, if you're natural, you should be doing high intensity training in a full body fashion, optimally, or ideally. So, blasphemy, I know. Mike Menser and Dorian Yates said train body parts once a week if you're doing high intensity training. And that can work plenty fine for naturals also. I did that for years and it worked pretty good. However, the difference between you and I and Mike Menser and Dorian Yates is we are not genetic freaks on steroids who have been training for 15, 20 years. Or maybe you have been training for 15, 20 years, and maybe you are a genetic freak. But if you're natural, you can train more frequently than a Mike Menser or Dorian Yates. If you're Dorian Yates and you're incline bench pressing 220 kilos, yeah, you're certainly not training chest 3 times a week. You cannot recover from that kind of poundage on the connective tissues and the central nervous system. However, I don't incline bench press 220 kilos. I wish I did, but I don't. And I'm natural. Therefore, my protein synthesis only lasts about 72 hours maximum. Whereas when you're running 4 grams a test, like a Dorian Yates or a Mike Menser, your protein synthesis is elevated throughout the entire week, and therefore you don't need as much frequency, and nor can you get away with that much frequency. So the point being, you have to understand that there has to be an evolution in high intensity training. It works, but it can be optimized. You will never hit your genetic potential naturally if you're training once a week per body part. It's just not going to happen, because at a certain point you get so advanced that you start atrophying quicker and quicker because your body doesn't want to hold onto muscle. After 72 hours of training, you are shrinking. There's no state of, homeostasis with muscles. They either exist in anabolism or catabolism. There's no ifs or buts around it. And so if you gain 3% muscle on Monday's chest day, by Thursday, you're starting to shrink again. And at a certain point, you'll start shrinking at the same rate you're growing. And therefore, you spend another 3 days resting, you've lost all the gains you got. And so if you're doing high intensity right now, you're more advanced and you're not getting the same gains you used to, well, it's time to start increasing the frequency. Or even if you are getting good gains, you'll get better gains if you do it more frequently. It's just basic maths. If you can improve your chest variations 3 times a week as opposed to the once a week, you're mathematically going to get significantly better at, well, not better, but you're going to get significantly stronger and bigger if you're progressing at the same rate, which you'll probably find you do. Maybe the argument would be, okay, once a week chest day, I'm able to add 3 reps every session, but if I did it every single day, I'd only add 1 rep. Well, either way, you'd still be getting 3 reps throughout the week, except the difference now is you get a higher bout of protein synthesis, but there's a good chance that you'll get the same amount of rep increases every session, and then therefore more mathematically more strength and muscle gained. So it's just basic maths. If you can get away with more frequency, which you likely can, you've just been sort of black-pilled by Dorian Yates and Mike Menser to thinking you can't because they weren't natural when they did high intensity, you can likely train with more frequency and then mathematically get more gains. Now, in saying that, you have to be smart about this. You can't be like, okay, I'm going to do squats, RDLs, calf raises, and then I'm going to do flat bench, overhead press, and flies, and then 5 different back exercises in one session. No, you have to spread out the exercises you're already doing throughout the week. You're also going to have to chuck out some of the exercises that don't actually fucking do anything, and you just do them for no real reason. Like, for example, flat bench, incline bench, cool. Lower pecs, upper pecs. Then I do a fly. Why? Because it's like different. Well, really, all it does is isolate the pecs, but you don't really need to isolate the pecs all that much. If you're pressing correctly, your pecs are growing. Like, unless you're tricep dominant as fuck, in which case, then just don't do flat bench, do the fly. But the basics is find the best exercise you like for each body part. No body part needs more than 2 or 3 exercises. Like, you don't need 5 different lat exercises. You don't need 5 different chest exercises. You certainly do not need more than 2 bicep exercises. There's 2 heads to the bicep. You realistically only need a supinated grip and arguably a pronated grip for brachyradialis and brachialis emphasis. But if you're needing 5 different exercises for your muscle parts, well, you just don't know anatomy that well, or you don't know how to recover well. So spread out the exercises. You do chest on Monday in a flat bench, and then you do incline bench on Friday. And they have indirect carryover or indirect stimulus. So if you do a flat bench, you're still getting upper pec fibers activated, just not as directly as the lower pecs, and vice versa. If you do an incline press, you're hitting a decent degree of mid and lower pecs also. And then when you do your overhead press on Wednesday, because the front delts have a bunch of indirect stimulus from other exercises, you don't want to be doing shoulders twice a week, then you'll get plenty of upper pec, involvement with that too. So understand that you're still going to get all the different heads of the bicep and all the different areas of the back and different muscles, hit. Like, if, for example, in a squat, you do squats on Monday, more for quadricep development, but you're still going to get plenty of glutes on that also. And then when you do the RDL on Wednesday, with the RDL, you probably won't get much quadriceps, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. There's indirect stimulus, and the basics of this, you just have to understand that you can't maybe train to failure on every exercise, like squats, deadlifts, heavy compound movements. Maybe you need to start doing rep in reserve here and there, or you sort of go a bit more periodized. So maybe week 1 and 2, you keep a rep in reserve, and then on the last week, you go all the way to failure on all the different things, and then on the 4th week, maybe you do 2 reps in reserve, or whatever it is. But play it by ear. The basics of it is, are you still progressively overloading at a decent rate? Do your connective tissues feel good? Then it doesn't really fucking matter. Just do the 1 set to failure. I might talk about this in a different video if people are interested, but I thoroughly believe that full body high intensity training is the way to go if you're natural, and good chance even if you're on steroids, it will be better. Just basic maths. So anyway, that's it for today. Maybe I'll do a part 2. Peace out. Bye.